And we're back. Thank you for coming back to West Oak Financial, helping you plan for your future today. Okay. So now, on to our second segment. We're going to talk about trust right now. Okay. Wills and trust, actually. Okay. Wills and trust. All right. So there's a few things in the last about 10 years, maybe 20 years that's been really coming up, that's been coming to the forefront of, when somebody passes away. Okay. You know, besides people not even having life insurance, people they don't have wills. Your basic will, um, or trust, to a tr- put a trust will they can put their assets into a trust and direct where it goes. With the will, you're just giving directions to, after you pass away, then you want certain things done with your estate. Okay. So what we're finding out is a lot of people don't even have that in place. Okay. I think it's very important. You need to be able to direct where you want your assets to go, who do you want them to go to, okay? And never mind, taxes and you're worried about Uncle Sam kind of, you know, hitting your estate hard. Why? Because you didn't do the proper estate planning. Okay. Um, you know, and I know it can be a rough topic sometimes to discuss with your family members, when you're talking about dying or passing away, but I just believe that it's something that actually needs to be done. Okay. Every household needs to do that. Okay. So we're just going to get into it right away. Some of the questions that you might have is, what is a will? What is probate? What is a trust? What type of trusts are there? Why do we need estate planning? The advantages of estate planning. Why do we, do you need to provide for a special needs child to protect their future benefits? Okay. Do you have concerns about your children fighting over your property and assets after death? That's one I'm going to put an asterisk next to, because we know, okay, that oftentimes someone passes away, and if there's no direction with with the estate or with the assets, families they fight, they get into it, over, well, I should have had this, and dad said I'm supposed to get that, and mom said she wanted me to have it, and I was a favorite, and I did everything, and it gets crazy. So you don't want that. Just to avoid that altogether, you want to have the proper estate planning in place. Okay. So, all right. So we're just going to get into we're going to talk about the will. What is a will? A will lets you control what happens to your property if you have minor children. A will enables you to designate who will care for them after your death. Okay. Through a will, you can nominate a legal guardian for your children and name an executor to handle the distribution of your estate to designated beneficiaries. Now, there are several types of wills, okay? You know, there's about seven different types of wills, I believe, okay? Either seven or nine types of wills. I believe it's seven though. But so we're talking right now, we're just talking about your basic will. We'll get into the different types of wills later on, but I'm just talking about your basic type of will right now. Okay. So, um, you know, it's just a matter of, um, you know, drawing up the will, putting the directions in the will. Now, also be mindful, a will still goes to probate. Okay. Will still goes to probate. That's the difference between a will and a trust. The trust, they don't have to go to probate, but that will has to go to probate. Okay. So, if you are, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and, unfortunately something happens to Mr. Smith, and he has a will, you in the family will now, have to go to probate. Okay, his estate's going to go to probate. You go, the will's read. Some of you may have your own attorneys or in the room, and the will is read. Okay, and whatever directions Mr. Smith gave, that's what takes place. Okay, so that's your basic will. All right. Once again, it is probated. Okay. Now we're going to get into trust. Okay. Now trust is a little different. Okay. A trust will allow you to take your assets, deed them over to the trust. Okay. You can still have control over what's going on with the trust, but now it's in the name of the trust. Okay. You can even buy a home. Okay. And put it in the name of the trust. All right. And this will help protect your assets. And also, it gives you space to still, if it's a revocable trust, then you can actually make changes to that trust. Okay. So, just some uh, terms that you want to become familiar with your trust. Okay. So, number one, all right. Uh, Trust. These are trust parties. Okay. Number one is the settlor, the grantor. This is the person who supplies the assets, can be a trustee or beneficiary. Okay. The trustee holds the title to the property. The beneficiary, the person who gets the property. And then last, something is called a remainderman. Remainderman. Heirs of the beneficiary. Okay. And the heirs of the beneficiary, this is called per sterts. Okay. This is a Latin term which means the branch or by the roots. Okay. Per sterts, which means the branch or by the roots. That comes from remainderment. Okay. Remainderment, once again, that is the heirs of the beneficiary. Okay. Okay. Number two, simple trust. A simple trust, it must be distributed in the year it is received, therefore taxed every year. That's a simple trust. Must be distributed in the year it is received, therefore taxed every year. Number two, a complex trust made during the maker's lifetime. The settlor transfers property into the trust and can remain the trustee. Okay, that's a living trust. All right. That was number four. Number five, testamentary trust. Testamentary trust comes into being through a will instructions, executor. Okay, comes into being through will instructions from the executor. All right. Number six, revocable trust. This is a living trust that has the permission to be revoked. All right. And number seven, irrevocable trust. The settlor gives up all ownership. Okay. The settlor gives up all ownership, which means there is no permission for it to be revoked. Okay. Now, with a trust, um, some important two important things with a trust. Number one, funding the trust. Okay. So let's talk about funding the trust. All right. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, um, they set up a trust. Okay. And they fund the trust. Now, how they fund the trust is they're taking their assets, whether it's a house, cars, could be a boat, okay? It could be a brokerage account, anything that they want to put into the trust. That's called funding the trust. Okay. So I'll say it again. Number one, they'll set up the trust. Number two, they'll start to fund it. The problem becomes when they don't continually fund the trust. Okay. So for instance, once again, Mr. and Mrs. Smith set up their trust. They fund their trust in the beginning. But now, later on, let's say down the line, they buy a vacation home, but they don't put it in the trust. Okay. It's not funding the trust. That vacation home is an asset. They want to put that in the trust. Okay. So anything they get as time goes on, they want to continually fund the trust, and that's what it means by funding the trust. Okay, they're continually adding assets to it. Okay, so once again, you must fund the trust if you acquire new assets, brokerage accounts, real estate, uh, even a new business. Okay, all these must be titled over to the trust. Okay, it's called titling over to the trust. Okay, so once it becomes part of the trust, now the trust is in charge, and you still have access. You still direct the trust to do certain things, and I mean, really, you have to. Okay, because as you add assets to the trust, you also have to navigate this along with your whole estate plan. Once again, this is just a trust. Okay, so there's a lot of coordination that needs to go on with the trust. Okay, now here's something that's important too. All right, 401ks, IRAs, life insurance don't belong in a trust. That trust. Now there are life insurance trusts you can set up, and that's something different. That's something over by itself, a life insurance trust. But for your regular trust that you have, 401ks, IRAs, and life insurance policies, they don't go in the trust. Why? Because they are non probate items, which means that when you set these up, you already set up the beneficiary. Okay. When I set up my Roth IRA, then my wife is my beneficiary. That's already in place. So that's a non-probatable item. Okay. 401k. When I set up my 401k, a person you designate a beneficiary in the beginning. Okay. That's a non-probatable item. That doesn't need to go in the trust. Okay. So that's important. Keep that in mind. Okay. You don't want to put those type of vehicles into the trust. Okay. Now, you may at some time having to amend your trust. Okay. Amending the trust means that you may want to take a specific item in the trust and designate that to a specific person. Okay. And this is called amending the trust. All right. So these are just some items, just some things I want you to keep in mind. Okay. And the most important thing for you to do is to go talk to an estate attorney. Okay. The information I'm giving you is just certain things that you can have so that you can understand, have the knowledge. But overall, I want you to go see an estate attorney. Okay. All right. Okay. So coordinating your trust. You have to coordinate your trust with with your overall estate plan. Okay. Not coordinating your trust with the necessary estate planning documents can cause a problem. Okay. And the last item we're going to talk about is called a pour over will. A pour over will. Okay. A pour over will is when you have a person dies with without an asset in the trust. Then the asset will pour over into the trust. Okay. And this allows the asset to now be in the trust. Okay. So that's done with a pour over will. Okay. And it's coordinated with the living trust. Okay. So I'm going to conclude there on the wills and trusts for now. I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about the different types of wills on our next segment. But right now, once again, if you would like more information on this topic, then you can just go to westoakfinancial.org. Okay, that's westoakfinancial.org. All right, or westoakfinancial at gmail.com. Westoakfinancial at gmail.com. Thank you and have a blessed day.